Good afternoon, and welcome to the Revere City Council meeting of November 25th. Please, the members of the audience, please join the Revere City Council in a salute to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk and members of the audience and those at home, a week ago this evening, I mentioned that the Revere City Council sends its prayers and well wishes to Rick Promise, the very able and capable young man who was the Revere TV technician who aired all the Revere City Council meetings. A classy, nice man. Well, it's with a very sad heart that I tell you this evening that Rick has passed this past week. It's a great loss for not only his family and his friends, but to the entire City Council membership and those who sit in attendance and those that watch at home. He does the Revere calendar. If you watch it on Channel 9, he tells you the calendar events the days before we actually meet. And he was just one heck of a nice man, and we certainly all miss him, and forever we will miss him. And prior to me saying my final remarks, I would like for us all to stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I know we all may have a bunch of remarks about Rick, and not only was he working hard for Revere TV at our sessions here, but he was doing things citywide for a lot of different organizations, and we will miss him. And I would like to make a motion at this time that the Revere City Council authorize the posting of a special plaque on the council wall next to the entrance into his work office, where they did all the cable TV shows for our council. So,
sounds like a great idea.
Thank you.
All in favor of that motion? All opposed? God bless Rick. Madam Clerk?
Roll call of the members. Councilor Janino.
Here.
Here. Councilor Keefe.
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Councilor Morbido.
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky.
Here.
Here. Councilor Patch. Here. Councilor Powers. Here. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo.
Here.
Here. And Council President Guanasso.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. Calendar item number 2, approval of the journal of the regular meeting of November 18th, 2019.
So move.
On the motion? So ordered.
Calendar item number 3, public hearings. The Revere City Council will conduct a public hearing contingent upon the approval of the petitioner's plan herein referenced by the Revere Planning Board on a petition of Caddy Farm LLC, 118 Main Street, Malden, Mass., requesting the approval of the City of Revere for the acceptance, laying out, and dedication of Muzzy Street in the City of Revere as shown on the petitioner's plan entitled Plan of Land in Revere, dated September 30th, 2019, prepared by Hayes Engineering, Inc., Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors, 603 Salem Street, Wakefield, Mass.
Anyone here wishing to speak on behalf of this?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the City Council. My name is Attorney Lawrence Simeoni. I represent Caddy Farm LLC, the petitioner in this public street dedication process. In November 19, 2019, we continued our planning board meeting because at that time we didn't have the appropriate staff. So that results in us now having your meeting before the planning board meeting. The idea is to have consecutive votes and consecutive hearings so that you can hear what the planning board has to say, and then you can take that as the final arbiter. So therefore, respectfully, I ask this committee, this board, and council to let us have a continuance this evening to December 9th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the public hearing will be continued on December 9th at 6 p.m. Councilor Janino?
Thank you, Mr. President. I know the Ward 6 elect counselor prepared a letter. Can we just ask that be added to the record?
We can add that on December 9th.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Calendar item number 4, hearing called is ordered on the application of Cellco Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless, as a licensee of National Grid, 12 Industrial Way, Salem, New Hampshire, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to install a small, low-powered wireless antenna and associated equipment on existing utility pole number 619-1 on Kimball Ave near 10 Walnut Ave.
Anyone wishing to speak on behalf of this petition? When you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record, please. Hit the button.
Thanks.
You would have thought that Stan would have told you to hit the button when you come out.
Stan forgot to tell me that. Hey, Michael Chimer representing Verizon Wireless. There's 3 applications here tonight. On each of them, this is part of a small cell build-out program in the city here. They're going to be attached to existing National Grid poles, so there's no new structures. These are small pieces of equipment, small antennas. They're put within the right-of-way, and they meet all your standards under your ordinances. I understand this will probably be referred to the subcommittee, and I'll be prepared to present more information to that committee.
Okay. Any other proponents wishing to speak in favor? You wish to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone opposed to the proposal? Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. President. I'm a current resident of Crystal Avenue. And about 2 weeks ago, we received this notice about this public hearing. Oh, by the way, I'm not a native tongue speaker. If I say something not very clearly, you can ask me to repeat. If I don't hear you guys clearly, I will ask you to repeat, so all the parties can understand each other. Tonight, I came here strongly against to put a 5G, what they called a small powered antenna in our street. I'm not quite understand why they put that antenna in that particular place. In my opinion, I would like to ask some of the technical guys to talk about a little bit before you guys, the councils, will go ahead to jump to approve this. A couple of things. The first thing, I think that particular street, Crystal Avenue, is under the conservation land. So they don't have the right of way of doing this. This is not the right of way. Second, I think it's also coincidentally, it's underneath the Logan Airport, runway 22 right and 22 left. So technically, there might be some interference between the aircraft traffic thing and the antenna itself. And also, I believe, whatever the new technology comes in, we shouldn't be rushed to judge, to go for it, or disapprove it. For this situation, I disapprove it. As I said just now clearly, I strongly against this. It's because the history already told us about this. The most recent one is what that's called jewel wiping. Vaping. So that's my pronunciation, sorry. When it comes, everybody welcome it, especially the young kids. But it turned out by this year, there's something wrong with this, right? And there's a health issue related to this. Many years ago, almost a century ago, a couple of decades ago, when the X-ray was invented, people like it. For the medicine itself, medical field is widely used. And then some people put them as a shoe fitting machine, like a shoe fitting tester in Macy's or Sears or whatever in the department store to let the people to use it as a shoe size fitting thing, to try to test whether it is good or not. And then it turned out to be there's a harmful radiation for that. And there are other things like, what I should say?
Well, if you could just
Just try
summarize
to
it,
concentrate, okay.
Because what I'm
So-
going to tell you
so-
is that this is going to go to a subcommittee for further review. This is not the final this evening.
Okay,
It's
that's
gonna go-
great, that's
It's going to
great.
go to a subcommittee, and then you could bring more facts to the table and inform the city council as to what your findings are.
Okay, so, sorry, I will end quickly. So before I finish myself, I hope the councilors here, everybody, think it over before make approval or disapproval of this. I think this is a huge thing. It's bigger than what just a small-sized antenna over there along the street. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? And I would ask that you can summarize it. We are going to review this before the zoning subcommittee, and before you leave this evening, I can get a time and a date as to when the zoning subcommittee is going to meet. And so you can go into more informal situation and you can share your concerns. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Annette and David LaChapelle. We live on the corner of Crystal Ave and Summer Street. Both of us recently diagnosed with things that we think are related to cell towers. I have some evidence here. It sounds like that's for the next meeting. Strongly opposed to this. Do whatever it takes to stop it. Also spoke to some other people about this, and someone raised a very good point. It's very interesting. You wouldn't be having this discussion in a richer community, in an Andover or a Newton. We wouldn't be talking about this. It's not nice that they're trying to bring this to our neighborhood, so we're very against it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your...
I'd just like to say briefly,
State your name, please.
I'm David LaChapelle, and I live with Annette at 95 Summer Street on the corner of Crystal. And I don't think that a lot of our neighbors were notified about this particular cell tower going in. We have 3 generations of people that have lived in this neighborhood, but we also have a lot of new young families that I would think with their children would be concerned about this and like to get more information on it before we're just rushed in, a tower goes up and we have to live with it. So I'd like to see all of the people along Crystal, along Pearl, and down the end of Summer and up the top of Summer receive notification of this next subcommittee
Well, we can
meeting.
check that very clearly. The city clerk can furnish the subcommittee with the listing of those who were notified, and we can make a determination who was notified.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition, please come to the podium. Council, through the chair, please. State your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Debbie and Bob DiPasquale. We're at Crystal Ave as well. These are our neighbors. And we just have some concerns because I'm in the healthcare field for 42 years. And I just want to be sure that they have longitudinal studies or some kind of scientific evidence to support data that won't be any repercussions from this like 10 years down the road. I would like to see some kind of comparison studies, to support that it won't be harmful to our grandchildren. My husband's 4th generation, I believe, right? Fourth generation here, so. And I also feel uncomfortable that we didn't have more people showing up because we think that they didn't get notified, just like the other fellow said. And we'd like to know if there's something else that we can do. Should we go get signatures, or is there anything else we can do?
We will check
Object to
that to make certain that the neighborhood was notified. And the chairman is, Mr. Chairman, if I can indulge upon you, can you set a time frame for this zoning subcommittee meeting?
Certainly,
Next meeting is December 9th,
Yeah, we-
2nd, December 2nd.
December 2nd?
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Ashley, do we have a time? Let me just,
Counselor, December 2nd's wide open.
okay. So we'll have the zoning subcommittee at, say, 5:30 on the 2nd of, is it the
We're
2nd?
going to meet December 2nd at 5:30 in the zoning chair. And by the way, I was just handed by the clerk, is 2 pages of people who have been notified, and there are quite a few. So unfortunately, some people don't participate in voting, they don't participate in anything in their community, and they leave it to very civic-minded, alert people like yourself to come forward and offer testimony to your concerns. So you should take a hand of applause for that, but there were 2 pages of people notified.
And I'm sure we'll have a lot of dialogue at the zoning subcommittee, but I want to assure you that we don't do anything up here without a lot of information. We don't do, the first gentleman that spoke, we don't hastily do anything up here. There has to be scientific data to either prove or disprove that these things are harmful. I haven't seen any yet, so I've seen a lot of internet stuff that people have put out there that say that this is harmful, but there has been no evidence, and this is federally controlled, and if it was harmful, I'll have to see some data to change my mind.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman.
I believe, thank you. I believe that you need some studies that are not done by the people that, are requesting this.
Okay.
You know,
And what you
we're
could
not-
do as an advocate for your neighborhood, you can get out and over the next few days, and unfortunately the holiday is here, but you can ask them to please come forward with their concerns, or at least make them pay attention to something that's going on in their community.
Be happy to do that. Thank you very much.
Any other citizens wishing to speak in opposition? Okay. Close that side of the hearing. Councilors, Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will help you with that. The residents of Crystal Ave, I will help you with anything you need to get this on the ground. Okay, get this moving. Okay. And I just want to say that could I ask, I don't know your name, the Verizon representative. Is it Stan? Mike. Is it a 5G? The antenna? Yes, it's a 5G. Okay. So I just want to go on record that I will vote no for this if it comes up even in committee. We've been working with this with different companies for the last 8 months. And I had brought up 8 months ago that we didn't have any data on vaping. That was one of our examples. And today, we are having consequences because of that. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I found out that in 10 years from now or 5 years from now, the data on the 5Gs were sending off radiation. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I voted for this. The other thing is that Crystal Ave abuts conservation. So being a past president of the Friends of Belle Isle, I couldn't vote for this. So I just want you to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, just as a point of information, you opened the hearing on item number 4, which is actually Walnut Avenue, and nothing against the folks that have always spoken, but I would hope that all their comments be related to item number 6 on Crystal Ave. So, but we are, you did open number 10 for
That's
10
correct.
Walnut Ave. So.
So noted.
So I don't, if I can speak, I don't know if you want to open
We're
number 10 again.
going to reverse it.
Do
We're going to
over.
reverse it.
Thank
So
you.
we'll finish speaking on behalf of what was occurring. So this is going to the zoning subcommittee, December 2nd at 5:30 for all people interested in Crystal Ave proposal. Madam Clerk.
Calendar item number 5, hearing called as ordered on Cellco Partnership DBA Verizon Wireless as a licensee of National Grid 12 Industrial Way, Salem, New Hampshire, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to install a small, low-powered wireless antenna and associated equipment on existing utility pole number 4066 on North Shore Road near 151 VFW Parkway.
Are there any proponents?
Again, Michael Jaimo, representing Verizon Wireless, and as with before, we'll make a presentation at the zoning committee, but I do want to assure the residents and the councilors that we hear the questions and the comments, so we'll try to bring people who can answer those technical issues.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in behalf of any proponents? Seeking none. Any opponents? Anyone in opposition? Seeing none. Close that side of the hearing. City councilors.
Mr. President.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is in my ward, and I've received phone calls from the residents that couldn't make it tonight, and they are against this. And until we get some better clarification of what's going on with these 5Gs, I'm not prepared to vote on this at this time, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Again, this is going to the zoning subcommittee, so you can tell all those who want to, Councilor, that they can attend that meeting. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just don't understand why it wasn't worded 5Gs and it was worded low-powered wireless antenna. Installed a small low-powered wireless antenna. When we've been having this conversation for 8 months or a year from so far, and it wasn't labeled 5G antenna. I just don't understand that. So I'm asking that in your committee that this is worded the right way, please.
I have no problem with that.
Through the
but
chair,
as a
Mr.
point,
Chairman.
Mr. President, I have no problem with that, but as a point of information, it is a low-powered antenna. 4G, 5G, I don't think it makes a difference, but whatever, we'll do it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I request through you to Mr. Giamo? Mr. Giamo, I haven't been very much in favor of these. I've been on the record as against these in the last year. But if you could bring to the meeting what the actual model looks like. We've heard that they're small, but we've seen them. They're actually a lot larger than we would like. So I don't like them because they're very unsightly, and I think the neighbors don't appreciate that. For other reasons too, I know that there's a lot of debate about the health, which we don't know yet. And of course, just for the record,
How do you want it?
the change from 5G to small, low-powered, low cell it's marketing. So we all know that too. But if you can bring a model to the council chambers, we appreciate that.
If they have one. I mean, these are up on poles in other cities around here,
They
too.
it brings it closer to us. We can see it, when it's 30 feet up in the air, you really can't get a good measurement in your head of how big it is when it's in the council chambers. I think it'll give us all the ability to see what one looks like and what they'll be dealing with from, in an aesthetic standpoint. Some of these homes are in really nice areas. Then, like they've mentioned, you wouldn't see these in some of the nicer home areas of the state. I would expect that we would treat Revere residents the same way. And then just the last piece, I know that the Verizon representative, Stanley, appreciate you sending us a list of residents that were in favor of this. If you'd like to bring them to the council chambers to the next meeting, we'd love to meet those residents as well and hear from them, because it doesn't look like anyone showed up tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. So this is going to be referred to zoning subcommittee. And again, for those watching at home and interested in coming to that zoning subcommittee, it's December 2nd at 5:30, and we look forward for your input in it. You're part of the community. Get involved with it. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Calendar item number 6, hearing called is ordered on the application of Celco Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless, as a licensee of National Grid, 12 Industrial Way, Salem, New Hampshire, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to install a small, low-powered wireless antenna and associated equipment on existing utility pole number 3090 on the public right-of-way near 123 Crystal Ave.
Anyone?
Mr.
Proponent?
President,
Anyone?
we already did that. We were supposed to go the other way, back to
No,
number 4.
we did it purposely for the record.
Okay.
And so now we'll go backwards to Kimball Ave. And we'll talk about
Thank you.
Kimball Ave. We refer back to item number 4. Any proponents? We're talking about Kimball Ave at this particular time.
Again, Michael Jaimo, representing Verizon Wireless on this, on all 3 applications, and we will make a fuller presentation at the zoning committee. I do want to make clear, though, that this is not a program that's just targeted at one city. This is a region-wide build-out, and it's going to be in every kind of city in this metropolitan area and all different neighborhoods in Boston. So
If
it's
you
not
could bring
a
that
targeted
source of
area.
information and tell us the communities that have involvement with 5G, we really would appreciate that at the subcommittee. It would be informative to everybody.
We can certainly give you information about the
Thank you.
network. I mean, Verizon Wireless is a licensee for the entire state of Massachusetts, so.
Okay. Again, any other proponents? Anyone else wishing to speak on behalf of the Kimball Ave project? Any opponents? Anyone in opposition? Seeing, hearing none, we'll close that side of the hearing. City councilors.
Mr. President, okay, thank you. Mr. President,
Anxious
once
tonight,
again,
huh?
this is on the corner of my ward, the corner of Walnut Ave and Kimball Ave, and again, I'm cautious about this, and I will we'll do our best to bring people up at the zoning subcommittee on the 2nd. Thank you.
Okay, this is referred to zoning subcommittee, December 2nd at 5:30 again. And for those in the Kimball Ave area wishing to come, please join with your ward council and the rest of the membership of the council in hearing your views. Madam Clerk.
Next up is the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee report.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. We took up all three items. There was not a lot of debate this evening. The wishes of the makers of each motion wish to put these on until next year. So they're going to be placed on file for the remainder of the year. Some of these will be brought back up and some of them may not due to just some different opinions.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
For the record, Madam Clerk, 7, 8, and 9 are all going to be placed on file.
In accordance with the provisions of Rule 23, the following motions and communications are being reported out of committee with the recommendation to be placed on file. Calendar item number 10, motion presented by Councilors Keefe and Guanasso, that the mayor request the city solicitor to revise Boston's short-term rental ordinance to be applicable to the city of Revere. There has been a steady increase in the number of homes and condominiums being purchased for the sole purpose of operating short-term rental businesses, thus reducing housing stock for families and individuals looking to purchase a property in Revere to live permanently. Boston's new short-term rental ordinance addresses this aspect of the short-term rental problem.
Vice President Keefe.
Placed on file, please.
Well, I say we place it on file, but I don't want this to go in the dead file section because Boston plan has been accepted by the Airbnb with no contention. And so without litigation and without nobody to get in the area of taking us to court, I think we just mirror that proposal and take it forward, put it on our books, and when we need to modify it, we'll do that. But we've been talking about this, 4 or 5 of us, meeting throughout the summer, and it seemed like it died, and waiting for verbiage. Well, we got verbiage. We can just copy Boston, and it's as simple as that.
Mr. President. Thank you, Mr.
Councilor.
President. So I spoke with the city solicitor who, and you yourself, Councilor McKenna and I have been working together with some members of the city staff to put together this ordinance. It has taken a little bit of it has died a little bit, but recently the efforts have been renewed, and I'm told that in January, we will have it before the council as an ordinance, and then it will go in front of the planning board, and because it's a zoning change, it would take about 3 meetings. So we're looking to bring this back on the first meetings of January.
Yeah, I would agree that
Yeah.
the latest, because the
Yes.
longer we delay this, the more we allow these things to take place, and our community's waiting for some help.
Correct.
I know a lot of residents have asked me, what are we going to do about Airbnb?
Correct. So this will be taken up in the
They're
first
taking
of the
over
year.
our neighborhoods. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the way this is worded, it's a request to the mayor that the city solicitor revise or accept in this case. And I don't see any reason why we shouldn't vote for this tonight. And it lets the mayor know that we want this to happen instead of letting it sit in committee all the time. And I think we ought to vote on it tonight. Let the mayor know that we feel this way. It's waiting for him to come back to us with the ordinance because we are waiting for it. This does not go anywhere. this does not go anywhere. It sits here, and it's only requesting the mayor to have the city solicitor put something together. So I think it's appropriate for us to pass this
But
tonight.
we also mentioned Boston, so
That's okay.
we're giving them the heads up that this is the one we want to use.
I think we should vote on this
I do
tonight.
too. I think it's a good motion. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was one of the makers of this motion. I'd like my name on this, please. For the
Would like-
record, thank you.
We left it off because we didn't think you were doing hard enough work. Councilor
Mr. President.
Powers, you gotta do more work.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with Councilor Novoselsky. I think the councils of patience and delay are long overdue. I, this week, observed for I think it was 7 to 8 days, a vehicle parked on Ponce Street with California plates. It had a visitor card on it, which I took a picture of, and I'm going to be dealing with tomorrow at the Traffic Commission, because that car clearly did not, never seen it before, didn't belong there, California plates. So all we're doing is taking parking spaces away from people who pay taxes in the city and pay an excise tax, the people who just happen to visit here for a few days and leave. So I think this is long overdue. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, you're right. And also, they're not only they're taking our parking spots, they're a little bit rowdy too, because they come, it's party time, you know, they're all vacationing. And when they do rent to undesirables, it really creates havoc in the community. And that's not the way a neighborhood should exist. We're not mini hotels in every street, and that's what we have. And we're in the vicinity over 100, I would believe. Over 200. Well, that's mind-boggling. So we're going to vote on this tonight and send it to the mayor, and hopefully he can send it to Paul Capizzi, and he can just copy and put in the word Revere where it says Boston, and we're all happy with that. Now, on the motion, Councilor Morabito.
Mr. President, if I can ask that we include the prior motions that I put on file, have them included in.
Well, remember I spoke with you regarding that. I think we modify it after we get the original, then we can modify it.
fine.
I think it makes more sense to do it that way.
That's absolutely fine.
And I don't want him to come back and say, well, we have now another statute that we have to review with that 35% percentage that you're looking for.
One of the motions have to be voted on separate.
Okay. On the motion as it exists right now, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered. Madam Clerk?
Calendar item number 11, on the application of Bernard Schramm, trustee of 257 Washington Avenue Realty Trust, for the purpose of considering the discontinuance and abandonment of a certain portion of Lincoln Street as illustrated on the petitioner's plan.
Place on file.
Calendar item number 12, motion presented by Councilor Guanasso, Council President Guanasso, that the mayor requests the city solicitor and city planner to draft a zoning ordinance amendment for a moratorium covering a one-year period relative to the conversion of single to two-family dwellings in all zoning districts in which two-family dwellings are allowed.
Again, this has been a concern of many people in many neighborhoods throughout our community, that we have a new mindset now that's taken over, that people buy a home and they want to turn it into a two-family. Within 2 weeks, they don't even get their furniture moved in yet, and they're already making provisions to convert their properties into income-producing property. It's ruining the fabric of the community, I think. There are some instances where it is required and needed, but I think we get something on the books, and then when we modify it and say that you have to at least own your home for 3, 4, 5 years, instead of just coming in, put your furniture in, and the next week you're making it a two-family. I don't think that's good for the neighborhood, because the neighborhood hasn't been planned out that way. And I just think that this makes all the sense in the world. I would hope that my colleagues would vote for this. Councilor Novoselsky.
Mr. President, once again, I know it's on a Rule 23, but as I said in item number 10, we're requesting the mayor to do something, to give it to the city solicitor. And it's not doing any good sitting here or dying in place on your behalf as the maker of the motion. And I think we ought to send it to the mayor let the city solicitor and the city planner work on it and see what they come up with, because they're going to have to come back to us with it anyways.
That's right.
In the zoning, so.
All right, I agree.
I would say we should vote on this and let it go through.
On the recommendation of my friend, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 13, motion presented by Councilors Morabito and Patch, that the mayor requests the water department to set up a connection for the installation of 3 catch basins on Orvis Road. Currently, there are no catch basins along the entirety of Orvis Road from Malden Street to Squire Road.
Council Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm glad that I got on this motion with Councilor Morabito. As far as Orvis Road, this is a problem for the many of the side streets off of Malden Street, but especially on Orvis, because they have no drainage at all on the street. And one poor resident there is always calling, and for the last 4 years or so, he had his sub pump. They put it right going out to the street, and it just doesn't, it freezes up, and they can't even do it with salt. They have to get a bulldozer down there to break it up every year, and several times a year. So I just hope, I'm sure he will, the next councilor of Ward 6 will take care of the street. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Morabito.
Thank you. As Councilor Patch mentioned, there's a lack of catch basins along Orvis Road, and a lot of the streets running perpendicular to and in between Malden Street and Squire Road. Unfortunately, the nearest stormwater infrastructure system that we can tap into is owned by DOT, which is located on Squire Road. The Mayor Arrigo and the Water Department is on top of this. They have been working on this for 3 months. They're looking to gain access so we can tap into their system. This will alleviate all of the water backup that occurs and freezes in the winter. So hopefully the ball continues to roll and we get moving.
Thank you, Councilor. The problem being is this council in the past year created an ordinance that penalizes an individual who discharges water into the street and it freezes and they have to maintain it. Now, we're hurting the homeowner on both sides. That's a very, very serious situation. We're asking them to not go into the sewer system, go into the streets, and then we don't have sewers, and then we have icing, and then the homeowners, God forbid someone gets hurt, where's the liability fall? You know, that's a serious situation, and I have a few of those areas in my ward where it becomes very, very icy, and just the sheer glass of just a little bit of a discharge from a property is very serious. And so we as a council can't talk out of two sides of our mouth. We can't penalize someone for doing something that we asked them to do. So we must give them relief, and I don't know liability-wise whether that would fly in a court of law, whether the liability is lifted just because we said to lift it. So I don't know where it ends.
Mr. Chairman, and like I said,
Council President.
Oh, I apologize, Mr. President. I apologize.
A couple more weeks. I want to enjoy the Council President.
I'm rushing you out of here. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay.
As I mentioned before, we were reassured that they've been working on it for 3 months. So once we gain the access from DOT, it'll be smooth sailing from there.
Okay, Councilor Keefe.
Not on this motion, just on after this motion. I have like a point of personal privilege.
Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick side note on your point. Another issue that we have in the city that a lot of people don't know about is there are natural springs. So there are a lot of places throughout the city that you may see runoff that looks like it's coming from someone's house, but it's really a natural spring. And Joe Mag and Johnny Chermello have been doing a really great job at identifying those and fixing them. I know there's one on Green Tree Lane and there was one on Fenno Street that they resolved that were really, really bad, that were causing like huge ice dams. So it may not always be the homeowner. Some of these are natural occurring springs that when we develop and we do things in the city, the water has to go somewhere. So it's getting moved and it may be appearing in places that we didn't know was before. So that's another issue, and hopefully by improving the drainage we can get some alleviation on those as well.
The home I own has a natural spring right underneath, and how I know that is many, many, many years ago when I was a little boy, I played in that area. And I said, wow, they have a creek here. This is right in the middle of a house. I thought it was very fascinating. And they had the best peaches in the whole world. These peaches were this big, and we used to visit them quite often. But it's a serious situation. Councilor Keefe, an appointed personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President, for a few more weeks. Just wanted to remind everyone, tomorrow, Tuesday, the 26th, Mass Badge Association will be hosting a community event, a community Thanksgiving dinner at the Casa Lucia. It is free for all residents to attend, and it's a great Thanksgiving celebration at 5 o'clock, Casa Lucia, full Thanksgiving dinner. Please join, and hopefully if there's people out there that aren't able to share the holiday with their family, they'll share it with the community tomorrow. Thank you.
Councilor, it didn't also, while you're on a personal privilege, I'll join with you. Didn't the cheering team win a championship? And
Division I co-ed state champions, yep.
And can you state the full documentation of what that is, which one it was? Because I was looking at it and saying, what an achievement, and I'm not seeing any play on it. So these girls deserve all the recognition in the world to get some praise here before the Revere City Council.
Sure. I'm sure there's some people that might know a little bit more than me, but the division, the cheerleading squad, Division I state champion co-ed team, and they're going to be competing for the national title in Daytona in just a few weeks. So if you are familiar with the Revere High cheerleading group, they are doing some fundraising, and there's some fundraising efforts out there. You can probably reach out to some of the team parents or the coaches to help support them, and I'm sure that they would very much appreciate that.
I think they were canning this past weekend in front of Blanchard's. And
That may have been the Pop Warner organization that's going to nationals on December 6th. So the younger cheerleaders are going to nationals on December 6th, and the high school cheerleaders are going to Daytona in a few weeks as well.
I can't believe what our youth are doing these last.
Right.
I've never seen anything like this in the history of Revere. That so many of our young people brought fame to our city, and that's a real great tribute to all of them. We should have one giant party for them, because that is really, that's really, it gives you a little bit of pride in your community, and when you see so many of the kids getting involved, and not only that, excelling in what they're trying to achieve. So,
Mr.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a slight correction on your part. The cheerleading team is co-ed.
Co-ed.
So there are some gentlemen that
There are some gentlemen.
are on the team. So
Okay.
just give you an FYI.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
we
well,
always
if you knew all that, why'd
we
you
always-
say something about it?
We always
Because
say you guys, and it's co-ed.
I did
So
say
I just want to
co-ed.
let you know that there are
Excuse
some
me,
gentlemen on the team.
That was a disclaimer. I did say co-ed. Right here, information. Okay, anybody else want to say something good? Well, we have a late communication. Why
One
don't we-
late
why don't we take it
communication
up?
from the Retirement Board relative to the board's calendar year 2020 budget.
I think that's a great idea to place it on file. Well, you know what's happening this week? It's going to be Thanksgiving. And all of us should be thankful for the wonderful things that we have within our lives and the experiences that we all share within a community. We certainly should be proud of our community, of all the things we just touched upon, some of the things. But be thankful for what we have as a friendship, and be thankful for the people of Revere for electing us again and selecting us as their leaders. I think that's a great privilege, and I think that we should do them proud by working Thanksgiving Day. You don't agree? All right, so we won't work Thanksgiving Day, but we work the day after.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Speak for yourself, Mr. President.
All right, I agree. So everybody out in Revere, happy Thanksgiving.
Mr. President, if I may,
from
please,
the
before you
city
close.
of Revere. Councilor
Before you close,
Novoselsky.
I'd like to also remind everybody that Thanksgiving Day is high school football day, and our 9-1 Revere High School Patriots will be playing in Winthrop. So we say, go beat Winthrop, and we want everybody to get out there and support our boys. No, boys are on the team. Boys on the team, And we'd like everybody to get out and support them on Thanksgiving morning. Thank you.
And the best thing that you're all going to hear right now is that the Revere City Council will stand adjourned until the meeting of December 2nd at 6 p.m.